Let's go from current slide. I'm going to, here you go. Here we go, share screen. Right there, and then from beginning. Can you guys see that okay?
Yes, perfect.
All right, perfect. All right, who am I? So I am TJ Preer. Professionally, I am a cybersecurity analyst. Unprofessionally, I'm a hacker. That's what I like to tell people who are not familiar with what it is I do. I'm an amateur MMA fighter. I've been doing that for about 9 months. I'm a soon-to-be dad, and I'm an overall curious person. So typically, what I'm gonna talk today about is pretty much how I got into the cybersecurity field. What led me there. Why I was interested in it. So I'm gonna start with my beginning, my climax, and then my beginning. It's intentional. So a few years ago, I used to work for a company called Road and Rails. So basically, I did. We were the contractor for the Mercedes-Benz company. So they build the Mercedes-Benz cars. My company drove the cars off the line and parked them, and we also shipped them across the United States with trains and 18-wheelers. I did that for about 3 years, and it was very monotonous work. So I was kind of looking for kind of a career change, but I did not know what it is I wanted to do. So doing Black Friday, I decided to learn a language, and the language I was learning was Japanese, and I wanted to learn it because my freshman year in college I had learned Mandarin, and I thought it would be a fun language to learn. So I was on this website and I was trying to sign up for it. I had already had an account on it, so I was trying to create a new account, and I was doing it in an incognito window. Well, while in the window, I copied the web link and I closed the browser. And then when I opened the browser back up in a regular browser and I hit paste, I was able to get unlimited accounts because the account was a subscription. So I didn't know what I did. I thought that I had broke something. I just knew that it wasn't right. So I called my best friend. I knew that he did cybersecurity. So I called him, and the first thing I was like, dude, I think I broke something. I don't know what it is. I think the FBI is coming to my house like right now. So he kind of laughed and was just like, well, I think you did what is called parameter pollution or parameter poison. So I was like, what's that? So I started asking him a million questions. And he just kind of paused and he said, TJ, if you want to learn, Google it. So that's the first time I got my first tool that I ever used in this industry is Google. So after that, I tried to figure out what I wanted to pivot to. So I chose to do something spontaneous. And I became Batman. Not really. Basically, what I did was now I have to figure out how do I get into the industry? What are my next steps? Pivot from not knowing anything about cyber to actually being in cyber. So the first thing I did was I researched. I researched tremendously. I read everything from blogs, news articles. I watched as many YouTube videos as I could find, just trying to figure out what are some of the things that I need to actually break into the industry. Along the way, I found that I had a lot of challenges ahead of me. Those challenges particularly pertain to education, my network, the people that I know, and then lastly, the ton of resources that were out there. So dealing with the first one, my education, I went out and got the first 3 CompTIA certifications, the CompTIA A+, Network Plus, and Security Plus. I read a lot about I read a lot of articles talking about, certifications don't matter or something like that. Well, I didn't want to take any chances. So I wanted to try to get past HR the best way I could. So I kind of started taking those. I think I knocked all 3 certifications out in like less than 3 months. So now my next obstacle is my network. How do I get to know people in the industry? How do I reach out and talk to people? So I hopped on LinkedIn. Someone recommended that if I wanted to find people who did what I did in kind of a community setting, I should reach out on LinkedIn. So I made my LinkedIn, and I kind of tried to build me a small presence. I would reach out to people, not necessarily asking for a job. I just kind of reached out just to speak to them, let them know that I was interested in the field of cybersecurity, and asked did they have any recommendations for me. Some was generous to respond, and I really appreciate those people. My next obstacle that I had was resource hell. Now, I'm not sure if many of you have seen as many resources that we have for cybersecurity nowadays, but there are a ton. So when I was first starting, it was kind of difficult figuring out exactly where I wanted to go and how I wanted to navigate. So I tried in the beginning, I kind of tried as many as I possibly could, trying to find something that would work. I think I ultimately settled on TryHackMe and PortSwigger, simply because the research that I did was if I wanted to get into industry quickly, I needed to go towards web app pen testing. So that's exactly what I did, and I structured my entire goals around learning how to web app pen test. So after that, I like to tell people that I failed into success. What does that mean? Well, along the way, I failed a lot, more times than I can count. Essentially, even getting in the industry was something because I failed at it. I was trying to sign up for a website to get a subscription for language learning, and I ended up accidentally hacking it. So now I look at that as a win, but at the time I didn't see that as a win. That to me, I did something bad. Another story I like to tell is during my learning process, I was on YouTube and I was watching this guy and he was demonstrating a CVE. So I decided I wanted to kind of just practice and try it out, and end up going to Shodan and using it, end up finding an endpoint that had that vulnerability. And I did this on a Monday. So I'm brand new to it. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I don't know how to report it. So I'll figure it out. A day went by, another day went by. I'm still procrastinating on it. And Friday comes and I'm like, okay, well, let me finally sit down and try to figure this out. And when I tried testing the vulnerability again, it didn't work. So I kind of like, okay, well, why doesn't it work? So I tried many things, it still didn't work. And I was like, well, okay, I just missed out. So I decided to do a little bit more research into the endpoint that I found, and I found that it belonged to Microsoft. Not only did it belong to Microsoft, I read that they had a bug bounty program. And if I would have reported that bug when I found it, I would have had $30,000. So I literally I like to say I lost $30,000 in 10 minutes. So, but from that experience, I learned that from now on, when I find something, I need to report it now, write it down now. So it's kind of funny when I think about it. All right. The last thing I want to kind of mention is I talked about 3 things or 3 obstacles that I kind of went through: my education, my networking, and then my resources. I like to extend an offering hand to a lot of you if you have any of these obstacles. I like to at least be the first stepping stone for you. I like to put my LinkedIn up here, and if you haven't started LinkedIn, I kind of encourage you to kind of start a LinkedIn. And then if and if you need to, I'll be your first connect. Thank you. Do you have are there any questions?
Cool. Thank you, TJ. Any questions in the room or on Zoom? No.
Chat.
TJ, there's one from Zoom. It says, "What do you do at ISE?"
What do I do at ISE? So at ISE, I am a analyst. So I test web apps, networks, IoT devices, uh, mobile apps. Majority of what I do though is mainly web app. So most of the training and the stuff that I did in my learning phase, it actually helped me out here.
Do you have any cool like war stories you can share about anything that you've seen in your time at ISE?
I have a few interesting devices that we've done. So the toilet, we hacked the toilet. I think that was pretty fun. We did that at RSA, and Rachel, correct me if I'm wrong, did we do it at DEF CON as well? Or we didn't take it to DEF CON?
We ended up not taking it to DEF CON, but we
Okay.
did have it at RSA along with like a knockoff Roomba vacuum cleaner.
Okay. And then the other thing I thought was kind of odd and interesting was a toothbrush. So we had to pen test the toothbrush. And it was interesting. I have another one. I heard IoT Village partner
With Finite State. Yeah. So to introduce myself, I'm Rachel. I run IoT Village, and TJ runs a lot of the content out of IoT Village. So we are partnering with Finite State in 2024. So they will be with us at events like RSA conference. So definitely, sign up for Student Day. That's the last day of RSA conference. We'll be in the sandbox. So Finite State will be there with us. They will also be with us at conferences like DEF CON, which we are at every year. We've been going to DEF CON since 2014, so we're a long-standing village there. And then there's some other conferences throughout the US, like Besides Charm. ISE is out of Baltimore, Maryland, so Besides Charm is a local conference for us. So Finite State will be there. And then Central ISSA Ohio is a conference where TJ and I will be at in May with Finite State. And we'll be running our hands-on hackalong, which is basically you will be hacking along right with TJ, and he's going to be showing and walking you through a vulnerable web app. So yeah, Finite State's going to be with us throughout all of 2024. I don't know exactly what kind of content they're going to be bringing to DEF CON yet, but it is in the works. So I'll probably, if you follow IoT Village on LinkedIn and like join our Discord, we provide updates there as when our sponsors are going to be running content. So we do have a CTF that we bring to DEF CON every year, which TJ can definitely go more into that. Otherwise, we have our hands-on hacking labs, and then our sponsors provide the rest of the content. But TJ, do you want to talk a little bit about our 4-time Black Badge CTF?
Yeah, so actually, correct me if I'm wrong, Rachel, this year we're actually doing something a little bit different. We're actually partnering with someone to kind of make our CTF a little better than it has been even previous years.
Yeah,
So,
that's the goal.
Yeah. So, fingers crossed, look for a better CTF that we had since previous years, if everything goes right. I want to hear about the Black Badge one. So it was not this year that just passed, but the year after that when we ended up winning the Black Badge. I think we had was it 50 plus devices, Rachel?
Yeah, it was 50 devices and 51 challenges. It was massive. We did not have a single contestant finish that CTF.
it was huge. We ran into a lot of problems because, as you know, hackers like to be malicious and, well, I say malicious. They like to play pranks. So they kept shutting down a lot of devices, so we had to kind of scramble and try to hurry and get them back up. It was stressful, but it was fun. I enjoyed it.
If you guys
Uh,
also check out the ISE website, under the research tab, our Soho 2.0 research is basically what our CTF is. So I definitely
hmm,
recommend doing a read up on that so that if you do attend any events with IoT Village this year, there likely will be some version of that CTF there.
Yeah,
Um,
you're talking about So Hopelessly Broken, right?
yes.
yes.
Yeah, that's yes. I might as well unmic at this point because I'm the one asking you these questions. Yeah, IoT Village is super
Go
cool
for it.
for me. I love the content you guys made. I don't know if you remember this. One of the IoT Village people did a series of live streams with Wired where they walked through how to pwn a router, and he did an SQL injection on a web panel, and then they also did they did like the reverse engineering and they looked for like a buffer overflow inside of the actual binaries themselves.
Hmm.
Super influential video, at least in
Yeah,
my
that was a
So
couple years ago.
yeah, I know at DEF CON we introduced a lot of like beginner friendly labs that included uh, a lot of what you just said. So I think it was we let them hack a Bluetooth light bulb. Uh,
I think you had a coffee machine or something weird, if I remember
yep.
correctly.
So
Yeah.
we had a coffee machine
You
this
had like you
past
had like
year.
you had like 5 teapots. I
Yeah,
walked in there, there were like 5 teapots sitting there.
yeah. We ended up having to throw them away after after the conference.
I see.
Anybody has any more questions?
We like to bring
No.
weird devices to IoT
Yeah,
Village. So
yeah.
coffee pots, toilets. One year we even had the bird scooters in there and they were just literally lying all over the floor and people were just trying to hack into them.
Nice.
So can we hear a little bit more about the toilet? Yeah.
Yeah.
So basically, every year I ask the analysts, what do you guys want to hack into next? And one of the analysts, as a joke, sent me a connected toilet seat, thinking that I wouldn't buy it. And I bought it and it got delivered to the office. And then the crew had to hack it. But I'll let TJ go into the technical aspects of that one.
Yeah. So basically, it was Bluetooth. It's a Bluetooth toilet seat. You're able to change colors through the application. And you can actually even change like how warm the seat gets. So we was able to intercept the Bluetooth signals and change the colors outside of the application, but also we was able to increase the heat on the toilet seat. Okay, see one that says when it comes to testing IoT devices, uh, network testing methodology of IoT use different protocols, not just I heard there's a degree of web exploitation involved. Protocols often. So someone just asked, it says, when it comes to testing IoT devices, I'm familiar with network testing methodology, but IoT uses different protocols, not just TCP/IP. I heard there are a degree of web exploitation involved, but do you have to deal with custom protocols often? Not that I've seen. I would probably have to ask some of the other analysts. Most of the ones I've seen most of them have like pretty standard like web apps on them or something like that. So like I had to do too much with that.
Yeah, I actually want to ask that as well. So since you're like a web guy, right? You
Hmm.
mostly work on the web panels that these devices have within them. Am I correct in that?
Yes.
Yeah.
So we did. He ended up leaving somewhere, but we did have one person that actually dealt with like who hacked the BIOS of the board. So I mainly deal with like the web app panels, and we had one that specialized in actually like the BIOS of the boards. That's it. I might be thinking of a little embedded systems or something. Okay. Um, any other questions? Did I need to go in depth in something that I mentioned earlier or anything like that?
What are the best defenses to IoT hacking?
Well, recently, we were talking about a colleague of mine were talking about he was hacking a router that was left with the debug endpoint still left on there. A lot of times, companies they don't want to spend the money or the time or resources to remove those debug connecting endpoints. So I think that a lot of those issues like that, specifically where you actually have to wire an IoT device, I think that can be mitigated by removing those. Um, I, me personally, I do think that uh, defense against an IoT device that a person has in their hand is kind of very difficult because my first time I went to college, I went for computer engineering, and uh, being able to see exactly what it is that you can actually do with boards, think that's something that'd be very difficult to mitigate. That's not impossible, but I just think that once I have something in my hand, I can kind of make changes as I want to. Thank you. No problem. That's something. Is there any more questions?
Oh, we have one in the room. Let me.
Okay.
Is there anything you suggest we do or shouldn't do when trying to get into cybersecurity?
I'll start with the should do. So one of my biggest things was when I first started asking the right questions. So I guess the best way I can explain that is uh, I don't think there's wrong questions, but I do think there are pretty right questions. So a right question would be like asking about something specific. I get a lot in my email. It's like, well, how do I get into cyber? How do I do this? And I think those are valid questions. I just think they're too broad. I think that you should ask kind of concise questions, things that you probably shouldn't do. Um, hmm. I guess this is more for the seasoned people. I think people who have been in cyber, they shouldn't kind of gatekeep. They should help as much as they possibly can. I know it was very difficult for me learning all the stuff that I did, and I really didn't know who to turn to. And I know I got on Discord, and every time I would ask a question, I got called all type of names. You know, Skid was definitely one of them, but I persevered. So someone said, find something that you like doing. I think that is great advice. I think that is definitely great advice. Just try harder. I've heard that numerous of times. Just try harder. So yeah, and that's more than just the OSCP. Um, not recently. Not for the web app stuff that I do. Um, Now in my everyday life that I like to tinker on myself. I find myself like tinkering with certain stuff, but typically doing my job, I don't really do a lot of my CE stuff. Any more questions?
I guess to like recap, so the IoT village CTF, the black badge one specifically, because of course that's the one. You guys had a bunch of vulnerable devices, and then the flags were finding bugs in those devices, and the more of them you found, the farther up the ladder you would get.
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay.
So the more flags you found, the more points that you got on like the board. I know that year with the black badge, we had introduced a lot of devices that like were brand new, and I think at the time some of them even had like 0 days on them. So yeah.
Cool.
Yep. Oh, okay. Any more questions?
Okay, cool.
All I
I
had,
don't
really?
think
Okay.
I don't think we have any questions in the room anymore. So
Okay.
yep. Cool. Like to thank you for your time. Hopefully we can do this again. Maybe the camera's actually fixed this time. It's crazy.
Okay.
Yeah, hopefully we can do this again next time. Maybe bring someone in person. But yeah, thank you again.
Yeah, no problem, guys. I really appreciate it for having me.
Cool. Awesome. Just last announcements. If you haven't signed in, please go to the link tree, sign in so we can get those metrics. This Friday again is a social because we have club fair and we're trying to get people to be more involved. So you'll just be able to meet Ebor, get to know a few other people, stuff like that. And next week we'll jump in back to our more technical workshops. But yeah, awesome. If you guys have any questions, again, I think Rachel put the email if you have any more questions for them. If you want to contact them. But yeah, hope you guys have a good rest of your Tuesday. Thank you again, TJ and Rachel.
No problem. Thank you so much for having me, guys. Y'all have a great day.
Thanks. Later.
Yeah.